All right. Welcome, everyone. This is a meeting of the Pioneer Valley Regional School District Committee. It is Thursday, April 21st, 2022. It is currently 7:04 p.m. We are meeting here in the library at Pioneer, as well as via Google Meet. This meeting is being held via Google Meet in a hybrid option in accordance with the Governor of Massachusetts' March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. In addition, a link to view the school committee meeting will be on the website, PVRSDK12.org, or you can view it at Facebook/BNC Television. The public is welcome to attend in person or to watch via the links above, but in the event of an issue with the links, the public meeting in person shall continue to proceed. As always, if you'd like to speak virtually via Google Meet during citizens' comments, please email the citizens' comments line at pvrsdk12.org. So I will call this meeting to order with a roll call vote. It is 7:05 p.m. We'll start with Melissa.
Melissa Gary, Bernardston here.
Stephanie Winslow, Northfield here.
Nathan Schwartz, Warwick here.
Jeannie Milton, Bernardston, present.
Karen O'Neill, Leiden, here.
Michelle Jeruso, Leiden here.
Raina?
Raina Dastu, Northfield here.
Alan?
Alan Genovese, Warwick, present.
David?
David Young here.
And Julie Burke, Northfield here. And welcome, Anne. I'm glad you found the right link. Okay, so are there any citizens' comments this evening? Yep.
Good evening, everyone. Heath Cummings from Northfield. So I'm here for several reasons tonight, but one of them is speaking out as a parent regarding some safety concerns that I've been made aware of over the last couple of days, some of them as recently as today, that I'd like the district to take some immediate action on. First off, there currently, to my awareness, and several other people I talk to that work for the district, there's no mechanism to report severe storms to kids and coaches out on these fields. There's several times over the last few years that I've witnessed kids running out of thunderstorms, and just recently witnessed one myself racing here to get my kid and getting here just in time for that storm to arrive on people. There's severe storms. They kind of get worse in this region with some of the northern stuff that comes down on us, these things called line storms. They come in and they're here in an instant. They bring heavy and frequent lightning. So that's a huge concern for me. And whether it's them downloading a weather alert app or you have your athletic director start notifying people, whatever it is, I don't know if you have something that's just not being used by everybody, but that's a huge one. Secondly, I was also made aware recently from the head of the school safety task force, there has been no lockdown drills done in this school district this school year. I know through COVID, maybe that was an issue, but many other schools in this area have been conducting them this entire school year all along. That's a huge, huge concern for me, considering the positions that I've held here and the regimen and schedules that we had set up while I was here. So to hear that those aren't going on and that the phone calls aren't getting returned as well is a major concern. Lastly, and this one's a compliance of law issue that, at least to my knowledge, hasn't been done, but pesticide applications that happen at the schools through the Children and Families Act by law have to be sent to families. They have to be written notifications, emails, printed flyers, whatever it is. I received nothing in the last couple of weeks, and I know there was an application done last week. I came here, I saw the signs, and my son was even told by a member of the administration here out on the field that, hey, you guys are playing in pesticide. That isn't in compliance with the law. So that's probably one of the bigger of the three concerns. I mean, definitely the lockdown stuff is, but all three definitely are things that need some sort of immediate attention.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. So this is a continuation of our agenda. There are a couple of things that also got added on in the meantime. First of all, under business, we have the appointment of the Duperay Law Offices discussion and vote. So I think that you all have in your packets here. So, you know, if this passes tonight, then it would be effective April 21st, which is today. to retain legal services for Duperay Law Offices effective July 1, 2022 to June 30th, 2023 at the annual rate of $24,000.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll,
Karen, second. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. Melissa?
Melissa Gary, yes.
Stephanie Winslow, yes.
Nathan Schwartz, yes.
Jeannie Milton, yes.
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Michelle Druso, yes.
Rena Dastu, yes.
Alan?
Alan Genovese, yes, and just at the end, please comment on what it was before. Thank you.
David Young, yes.
Thank you. And Julie Burke, yes. I would have to pull up the budget sheet to see what the previous,
Previously $1,200 a month, it's now it would be $2,000 a month.
Thank you.
you're welcome. So that passes unanimously. All right. Next on our agenda, we have the appointment of Dr. Ruth Potee, our district physician. Discussion and vote. So again, this would be for our meeting today, to continue Dr. Potee's appointment as the school physician for the 22-23 school year. The total stipend for this appointment is $2,600 per year. Yeah, so,
Go ahead. I
No,
was
I
going
can't
to,
remember what it was last year, is all I was going to say.
It was pretty close to this.
yeah, it was very close.
23?
I don't remember if it was
Oh, okay.
23, but it was very, very close to this.
Well, I'd like to move that we appoint Dr. Potee as our district physician, school physician.
I'll second.
any further discussion? All right, Melissa.
Melissa Gary, yes.
Stephanie Winslow, yes.
Nathan Schwartz, yes.
Jeannie Milton, yes.
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Michelle Druso, yes.
Rena?
Rena Dastu, Northfield, yes.
Alan Genovese, Warwick, yes.
David Young, yes.
And Julie Burke, Northfield, yes. So that passes unanimously as well. All right, and the appointment of Ann Harding, school committee recording secretary, discussion and vote.
So moved.
All right, so I'll just, I'll just note that it is for the 22-23 fiscal year, stipend is $80 per meeting, in which she submits a bill for her payment. Okay,
I'll second it.
great. Further discussion? All right, Melissa?
Melissa Gary, yes.
Stephanie Winslow, yes.
Nathan Schwartz, yes.
Jeannie Milton, yes.
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Michelle Druso, yes.
Rena Dastu, yes.
Alan Genovese, yes.
David Young, yes.
And Julie Burke, yes. Okay, great, that passes unanimously. Next on business, we have the school resource officer discussion. So I wanted to bring this back to the committee. As you know, at our meeting, it was our March meeting, one of the March meetings, that the chief of police, as well as our current school resource officer, Billy Kimball, attended. And there was some confusion at that meeting regarding the current MOU. So the current MOU that we have was through the FY23 school year. So the amount in our budget for the SRO is for an annual amount, which is the equivalent of a full-time position in our current budget, which we agreed upon. I think that some of the confusion was that currently, Mr. Kimball, it has been underutilized in the sense of he has another position outside of the school resource officer position, so he was only available for us for 3 days per week. So it had been underfilled as far as the MOU was concerned. So we have not come back to the table to discuss that position since then. Our colleagues who came to the table, so the chief of police, they were in the midst of an interview process for a new school resource officer to be full-time. And that wasn't at least made clear from my standpoint at our last meeting. We kind of ended up at the meeting not really, we had said discussion and vote, but then there wasn't anything really to vote on because we discovered that it was already full-time. Our colleagues in Northfield, they had a select board meeting on March 22nd. Several of committee members have told me that they have viewed that meeting. The school committee was implicated at that select board meeting to have essentially been at fault for the interviewee not wanting to accept the position. So I'm bringing this back up to the full committee. The chair of that committee would like to have a discussion chair to chair to discuss really details of the position and perhaps iron out a few things ahead of time before we meet together as a committee again to discuss all of the issues or any concerns around the SRO position. I asked that we skip that part and that we all just come back together, and that perhaps if a concerning factor of the candidate that they had was that there may not be longevity for the position beyond 2023, that they perhaps bring to us a proposal of a new MOU. So really, I want to discuss this with the committee. I wanted to bring it back before you because it had not been discussed at all since our meeting with the chief and Mr. Kimball. So I'll leave it open for discussion. Alan?
Yeah, so going back to that meeting, my understanding was that, as yours, we have an MOU. I think that MOU is fine. It goes to next year. We can review all aspects of our budget as we do each year and decide if it's going to continue as a 2 or 3 year. That I believed it was in front of the committee because we had budgeted something like $29,000 and we were just being informed that there was going to be a 2% or some particular raise that would bring it up around 31. So I thought that it was kind of informational in that if that needed to have a vote because we're going to be adjusting the budget, so be it. I guess I'm under the impression that we're still splitting this with the town, that we're doing the 31 and they're doing the 31, and that, you know, if they see a need to have the officer do additional things at the town, you know, that's their prerogative, or if they want to ensure that the person, you know, stays on, they certainly have the prerogative of offering continued employment. So I'm a little confused why it needs to come back to the committee other than maybe an education part. If people would like to have a conversation about how many, you know, the benefits, certainly there are many benefits, and what the goals of the resource officer is, maybe review the curriculum that is part of that program, and things like that. We could, you know, we could put some time aside, and it would be good to hear the many positive contributions that would come from that. But I'm not sure why else it would come to the committee for a discussion. So you could clarify that. Thank you.
Yeah, so what I gleaned from the March 22nd Select Board meeting was that the candidate that they had was feeling, was having hesitation for accepting the position, given the fact that there was insecurity around the future state of the position for the district beyond 2023.
Okay, that's...
And that's why I suggested perhaps a new MOU.
You mean like a
All right.
3-year contract or something?
Yeah, I mean, a new
I think
proposal.
before I would do that, I would like to have it evaluated. We haven't heard anything about how things are going with the position at all. From administration, from teachers. So to just have a 3-year contract without an evaluation seems to me,
Yeah, so that's why it was important to bring it back to the committee to discuss those details. What are the questions surrounding it? You know, as Alan was stating, what could be developed with it that isn't currently there? What is working? What opportunities are there to expand on the role? Really, I'm asking for, would you like me to meet with the chair of the select board ahead of time? Or would you like me to extend the invitation for them to come back to the table to discuss the position? Alyssa?
So I don't have an answer to that yet, but I do, so, here's where I am. In a previous world, when I was a teacher, there was an SRO in our building, and I can't express how invaluable that role is. My understanding was that at this March meeting in the MOU, it says that we would pay up to $29,532. That's not what we voted in the budget. We voted an increase to that, right? So there's an increase, and that is what we would change, okay? At this point, the MOU goes until 2023. I don't see why there would necessarily be a question of insecurity. I mean, this is when the MOU goes until, and then there's going to be a raise added. We're moving it from 29,000 up to 3130. I can pull it up. But then the discussion of moving beyond that MOU 2023 is really at the discussion of us as a committee, right? And what do we see as a value? When the chief of police was here with Mr. Kimball, Mr. Kimball really gave us some concrete examples of how he was able to help and the benefits to the district and what could be done if he was here full-time. But because of his personal schedule, he was only here part-time. So within the MOU, there's nothing that says it couldn't be full-time. I feel like it being put on the agenda in the beginning of that meeting, I know I felt like a lot more time and space needed to be given to this to kind of talk about if there's more questions, but we were also here to vote a budget and vote everything else. And so I feel like I wasn't quite sure why it was on the agenda so quickly because we had other big items, and then a few days, not a few days, but when the agenda came out and it was put on, and I was like, whoa, where did this come from? And then we got the MOU, and that it was all very confusing. And I think because there was other much bigger items, it left many clarifications that may have been able to be asked and answered unsaid. And so here we are, right? And so there's frustrations kind of on both. You know, we all know, it's no secret, that we're in the middle of hiring for a superintendent. We're in the middle of negotiating with staff. We're in the middle of looking for a finance manager. So, you know, whether someone doesn't take this job because the MOU expires in 2023, I mean, that's kind of the risk you take, potentially. But two, we're the ones that need to decide whether we want an SRO, right? And that MOU and that contract goes till 2023, just like teacher negotiations go until a certain day. When a administrator gets hired, they get hired for a 1-year interim position. And then, so I just don't know why we would say, okay, so this person isn't going to take this job because they want a longer contract. They want to have that job security, right? There's so many other things that we have to do. There's a raise in this. There's value of it that I see tremendously. But I think the feeling was more from the March meeting of, we don't even know if our budget's going to get passed by the 4 towns right now. We don't know what after 2023, 24 is going to look like. And so I think that's kind of undue pressure put on us as a committee to say, you know, we have this really awesome person, but unless you create a MOU that goes beyond 2023, we're going to lose them. And I don't think that's fair for anyone. And I don't know. So I guess that's kind of where I am. You know, I don't think that you should meet individually with anyone. I think everybody should kind of come to the table and ask their questions. I think that any individual meeting or any communication or email that has happened, even to our March meeting, would have been really helpful to know ahead of time so that I know where it was coming from. I didn't even know where it was coming from. So, that's
Okay, thank you.
where I'm,
Are you done?
yes.
I don't want to cut you off.
No, please just hit mute.
Well, I have,
Good, but, like, yeah,
I
no.
have David and then Jeannie. Go ahead, David.
I would like to correct the record in that SRO is not an optional thing. It's the law. There is a procedure for seeking a waiver, but Pioneer's never done that. And if there's going to be any introduction of uncertainty, I think when we as school committee members talk in terms of that this might be optional and we might not be able to fund it, that gets to that concern. We have to fund it. And our discussion is, you know, how we meet our obligation. Doesn't mean it has to be full-time, but we do have to have an SRO. Personally, I think it's more important in the junior high and high school than to have a presence in elementary schools. But we have to have an SRO.
Thank you, David. That's helpful.
Jeannie.
I'm a little confused. Do we have a part-time SRO currently?
Yes.
And is he available to do full-time?
No.
Then, and so my next question is, if we would prefer full-time, is that correct?
That is not what we have discussed. We have budgeted for.
I'm just trying to recall.
Yeah.
I need help.
No,
with what
that's
we have
okay. So the
discussed.
meeting essentially that we had in March, when the chief and Billy Kimball were here, were really to talk about, you know, how the SRO position had been going. And it was a great discussion, you know, very helpful. What has transpired since that meeting, Jeannie, is the school committee was not aware that there was a candidate that had been interviewed by both the town of Northfield and our interim superintendent, I believe. Did you? Yeah. What was said at the Northfield Select Board meeting on March 22nd is that the candidate did not choose the position given the fact that there was insecurity in it from the school committee's standpoint. That is why it's
that it expired in what, June, July of 23?
3.
Any new hire, I don't believe, gets more than a 1-year contract.
Right.
And if you look at that was for 2 fiscal years in that MOU, which is a lot more generous than what any new teacher or et cetera would receive. So it's really hard to say, I don't want to say I'm sorry, but this is how it is. But I can't perceive giving someone a 3-year contract when everybody else only has a 1-year contract. You know,
The chief in that meeting did suggest either a 3 or 5-year contract. That was what was in his communication.
Julie?
Yes, absolutely.
A couple points of clarification. David, the the former law requiring a school resource officer in each district was struck down when the governor signed a police reform bill, I believe, last December. Am I right about that? Last December. So there is no requirement at this time that every Massachusetts district have a school resource officer. Second, the timeline around things, I don't remember the exact timeline, but I became aware that the town was interviewing because someone in this school emailed me and said, do you know there are interviews? And I then began conversation with the chief and with Andrea Lamas, the town administrator. And I did make, I think, a few school committee members aware that, oh, hey, wait, because we saw it in an article in the Recorder that said that the town was seeking to make the SRO a full-time position. So that set things in motion, but we had not been part of the planning of the interview process. And there were multiple communications. I want to clarify. There were multiple communications with both the chief and Ms. Lamas about the full-time or part-time status of the role. And we can go into those later, but we have that. I have documented all of those communications.
Alan?
Yeah, I did watch the select board meeting in Northfield, and I was, I noticed that the police chief was careful in the way that he explained things. I appreciated that. I was disappointed in what I was hearing from the select board around the discussion. What didn't seem to make sense is if they're interviewing candidates and they know they have an MOU and they did not make it clear to the candidate what was in the MOU and when it would expire, why they would be surprised that someone decided, and, you know, rightfully so, I guess, you know, if they have a secure position, they have to certainly think of, you know, their family and so forth. They had a really qualified candidate that, you know, was contemplating a decision, which every, you know, family, everyone needs to do for their family. So my point is that it shouldn't have been a surprise that the MOU went to the 23, and that, you know, the process is that we then take a look at it and might do another 2-year or 1 year or whatever. So I just want to be clear in my mind that if we have a full-time resource officer, that's great. My understanding is the town is picking up half of that salary. The district will be picking up the other half. That would continue. And I'm assuming that that person would be available for detail and other things within the town, which certainly would be of value to the town as well. But I don't know that part. But I would advise that you not meet and that we do this as a committee when the time is right to have a discussion about this and learn more about what could be and what the possibilities are to strengthen our middle school and high school. I agree with David on that point, but I'm open to, I know the value. I was able to bring on the first resource officer in Massachusetts that was a state police officer that filled that role. His name was Lenny Crossman. And he added so much value to the district. So I know the value, but it'd be great for the community to hear in a meeting how that could prop up the district as well.
Thanks, Alan. Stephanie and then Melissa.
Yeah, I just want to agree. I think that it would be good to bring them back to our table to have a discussion. That way, we're all getting the information at the same time. We can ask questions if we have questions instead of a one-on-one meeting coming back and then we're like, well, what about this? And maybe it's something that you hadn't thought of. And also to Alan's point, it's televised, it's open to the community. The community can also see, what questions they might have that are getting answered. And so, I mean, I will admit I'm a parent of 2 children in the school system, and when I asked them about the SRO, they were like, oh, is that the guy that greets us at the door? And so I honestly didn't know what he did in their school, and that's why I asked. So there might be other parents out there as well who are like, oh, I didn't realize that's who that person was and what they do. So I think that inviting them back would be an appropriate thing to do.
Melissa?
I just wanted to make a clarification, because as everyone's talking, I'm listening and I'm reviewing the MOU, and I don't know if I was clear when I spoke earlier, that when I said we have the position of the SRO, but I also want to be clear that the SRO is an employee of the Northfield Police Department. And when I spoke about we have the SRO, I was talking about whether we participate in like the fund and have an SRO working within our district, that it's not an employee. So I just wanted to do a little point of clarification there. And so yes, I agree. I think we should invite them back to the table, and there may possibly be, I think, needed a draft update to the MOU to increase the amount if we.
Melissa, am I right that the MOU says the FY23 amount is TBD?
Where would that, so all it says, I have Article 4, Financing of the School Resource Officer Program. It says for the 21-22 school year, oh, there it goes. Last sentence, thank you. FY23 to be determined based on the needs and updated by January 2022. So, so then therefore, we wouldn't have to amend if we're doing the 31.
Yeah.
If we decided, okay, perfect, great. Then that wouldn't need to. Thank you for that clarification.
All right, any further discussion? So I will reach out to the town administrator of Northfield and say that we would like to invite the Northfield Select Board and the Chief of Police back to a meeting with us, a joint meeting to discuss the SRO position. Okay. Thank you.
Who, under what subcommittee does the SRO description, job? Because I think part of that is, if we're going to really be talking about the SRO position, for those that may have questions or who haven't experienced an SRO, I would like that to be part of the presentation. And so I didn't know if it.
I asked that very question back in February, and the answer was that it would be a responsibility of the curriculum and personnel.
Because that would be very helpful to have some type of presentation from them provided to the school committee.
Okay. Next. Karen, do you think tonight's the night?
Oh,
Yeah, let's do it.
it is.
Use of private vehicles policy, discussion and possible vote.
Okay. Thank you. You should have in your packet our most recent version of this policy. And there you will see a number of changes. And I would like to tell you the background behind the changes in general. Some of them were reorganization. Letter A is entirely different than it was before. It started off with staff vehicle, and this makes it more compact, more concise, and less repetitious than it was in the past. And it was Patricia's idea. Thank you very much. And secondly, there were changes made upon the results of the school committee discussion of the policy on March 17th. So those have been incorporated as well. And in other cases, we needed to provide more specificity for who would be responsible in certain instances. You will see that, for instance, under B, number 2, the staff driver will notify the building principal or relevant district administrator. That was ambiguous before. And then we also made a few grammatical changes. So I would like to entertain any questions you might have about this policy. And then we'll go from there. Hopefully this will be it. Anyone?
Oh, Melissa?
Yeah. Melissa.
I have to say, this is so good, so much better. So at the last meeting, I wanted to bring up, and I try to be very conscious of my airtime and reviewing things, and I know I've had a lot of comments. And what I was going to say at the last meeting is, if you actually reorganized it, this would be totally different, and you would have cut out so much extraneous and extra work. So this is fantastic. It's user-friendly. It's readable. And so at the end, I mean, I think this, I know it took a long time and a lot of hard work, so thank you, everyone who worked on this. It's good. This is a great format. It's a great flow. So nicely done.
Stephanie and then Alan.
Thank you to everybody who worked on this. I know this has been a very long process. On section C, number 2, letter C,
Yeah.
do we have this waiver? I see that question there. I just didn't know if there.
No, we don't have it yet.
Okay.
I would hope that it would pass pending having that waiver available and going by council.
Okay.
I was going to bring that up, but very good, thank you.
Alan?
Yes, I guess for discussion purposes, Karen's right. A lot of time went into this, and I am really pleased with the finished product. So I make a motion that we approve policy EEAG, use of private vehicles for educational programming, field trip, curricular or extracurricular purposes.
All right, is there a second?
I
I'll
second.
All right. Any further discussion?
No.
No.
And so that would be with the understanding that, I guess my office will organize getting council to draft
Yeah.
a waiver specific to students who might be allowed to transport other students.
There's 2 different waivers by the looks.
This would be a third waiver.
Oh, 3 waivers. then.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
That's fine, Karen.
And we also need to, I know we need to reach out to Carrie Baird to coordinate the athletic handbook and make sure that it is consistent with our policy. We'll do that.
I do want to say, even since, from the discussion of this, there's already been positive forward movement. My son's coaches have said, if you're going to go home a different way, mom, dad, let us know. So it's we're already doing a lot better.
That's good.
Alan?
Yeah, I just want to comment that the things that Patricia's doing and the attorney, I put that in the bucket of those are the regulations that carry out the policy. So the policy is
Right.
is good the way it stands. So
Right.
just clarification.
Right.
Thank you.
And I want to give a lot of credit to Patricia for the wording and the reorganization. That was great. Thank you.
It just needed different eyes.
Yeah.
Some of them looking at it were quite old.
So, thank you.
Or they've looked at it too many times, right?
So we do have a motion to accept pending the waiver, and we had a second? Okay. Any further discussion? All right, Melissa?
Melissa Gary, yes.
Stephanie Winslow, yes.
Nathan Swartz, Warwick, yes.
Jeannie Milton, yes.
Karen O'Neill, yes. O'Neill, yes.
Michelle Jeruso, yes.
Raina?
Raina Dastu, Northfield. Raina Dastu, Northfield, yes.
Alan Genovese, Warwick, yes.
David Young, yes.
And Julie Burke, Northfield, yes. All
Oh,
right.
thank you, thank you.
Applause.
Wow.
All right. Other business not anticipated at the time of posting.
May I do a quick update
Sure.
on something?
Yeah.
This is some great news. We received notification at the end of last week that the state is awarding one-time assistant payments for districts with pandemic-related enrollment loss. 128 of the districts in the state received some form of one-time money. We are one of those. We are receiving $20,875. It is not a grant. It is akin to Chapter 70 money. The range of amounts received by these 128 districts went from $1,600 to almost $4 million. We can just dream. The median amount, I thought this was interesting. The median amount was $30,806, and we were at $20,800. Like, for this one instance, we were kind of close
Yeah.
to the median. So
We'll take
this
it.
was, we'll take it. Judy, who is preparing a possible spending plan for the money. We actually don't have, they have not confirmed to us, the state, that the money needs to be spent by June 30th. I am assuming so, because it's FY22 money, but we'll find out. We can certainly spend it. But good news.
yeah,
Yeah, I think
Great.
everybody could go somewhere nice for a weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah?
All right.
Retreat, right?
So next, we have our subcommittee reports, which have been so long overdue. So looking forward to hearing about all of the hard work our subcommittees have been doing. You know, I haven't done a tally yet, but I continually am amazed by the sheer amount of hours everyone is putting in. You know, really for free. So I greatly appreciate everyone. Yes, Jeannie?
Julie, you mentioned hours. 8 years ago, when I first became a member of the school committee, I had maybe 1 4-hour meeting a month.
Yeah, times
And
have
it's
changed.
now worked into probably be 5 or 6 4-hour meetings a month.
Yes.
Minimal.
Yes.
So there's a huge difference.
Yes, yes. And I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And appreciate you all.
As the old man on the committee.
Okay, negotiation subcommittees up first. Raina, you are chair, but I think we will be moving into executive session. So is there anything that you wanted to update us on prior, you know, the full committee or the public on that?
Just to let the public know that we've been negotiating with both unions. We've exchanged initial proposals with the PVASP, the service personnel, and we're working with both unions. Hopefully, we're going to continue to move forward. So, and we'll hear more in the executive session for the committee.
And Raina, I want to give you a special thank you because you're tuning in from vacation, and this is the last thing you should be doing on your vacation. So we greatly appreciate that. Building and grounds. Melissa, your chair?
Yeah, surprise. So we, being new to the committee and being, you know, the first ever subcommittee I showed up to, we needed to kind of find a chair. And so I didn't mind stepping up and kind of organizing things. One of the first things I wanted to do was to have the subcommittee meet and have kind of like a meet and greet with Gretchen Licata and kind of go over where everything is. And what came up in conversation also was that a want and a need for our school committee membership to have a tour, a facilities tour. And so we were really I don't know the word I'm going to use. So we had planned a facility tour in one evening of 3 hours to hit Bernardston. This was a Friday evening to hit Bernardston, Pioneer, and Northfield, and we only made it to Bernardston. But what we were able to glean and the conversation is we also opened it up to FinCom and select board members of Bernardston, and so they joined us, and the conversation between Gretchen and the subcommittee and the select board of all the systems of the building specifically really highlighted the need for some real documentation that is needed to continue and be established. So we definitely have a lot of work ahead of us to put together, who to call when this happens, and this was replaced on this date, and this person. And so it was just a great way to get everyone together. Gretchen to meet the select board, for us to see the full tour of Bernardston for those who hadn't been in the building. And it also came out of trying to identify if our budget that we had worked on, that Gretchen had proposed, really incorporated the amount of money needed to maintain or update facilities. So we went over that. So coming up, there will be some more buildings and grounds meeting happening shortly. One, we have to get back. We'd like to get back to Pioneer and Northfield and kind of continue that meeting. So those will be 2 other meetings. And there's a few other people that we're going to bring to the table and look at some changes in facility management between Gretchen and some other players. So subcommittee will be hearing from me and planning that meeting shortly.
Great.
And
All right, thank you. Curriculum and personnel, Karen.
Yes. Our subcommittee met just before this meeting, and what we did was we worked out a timeline for the end of cycle or summative evaluation of the superintendent, and I will get that timeline out to the superintendent ASAP. We will present the documents and the process to the full subcommittee at the May 16th meeting.
You mean the full committee, Karen?
The full committee, yeah,
And that was May 18th?
16th. And those individual evaluations will be due on June 1st, so that we may have the readout at our first June meeting. We also set a date for another meeting before June to get ourselves a little updated on anything that has happened in the area of curriculum. So we hope to have Ariel LaRoe to come to that meeting to let us know the status of the implementation of the grant that they had last year and continue to learn about the school gardening, farming, and other portions of the curriculum that have been implemented recently, like the new English language arts curriculum as well. So that's what we've been doing.
Great, thank you. Budget subcommittee.
Well, we have not met since the public hearing and the passing of the budget, so. But what we have heard from the towns, well, we got off to a slow start, and we all have acknowledged that. And there were many unforeseen reasons why we did get off to a slow start. We will have to start much sooner next year, as soon as the summer or the fall. We haven't decided yet. But at last night's select board meeting in Bernardston, there were some nice comments about this year's documents. And one of the select board members said he really liked our documents. So I think we'll try and keep those same documents. But we won't have to meet, hopefully, for a few months.
So Patricia did send out to each one of the 4 towns, I think she copied you all in the communication, that we did offer to meet with the 4 towns ahead of everyone's town meetings. So on Tuesday evening, Patricia and I met with the Town of Northfield Select Board. Stephanie was in attendance, Melissa, Michelle. And then last night, we did meet with the Town of Bernardston Select Board, and Melissa and Michelle were in attendance there as well, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And Leiden and Warwick did not request, or did not take us up on that offer, I just wanted, okay. And then Policy Subcommittee, Karen.
Okay, well, we had some good news tonight from you all. Thank you. We have decided that if all is ready, in June, we will present the revised total policy manual with a few exceptions that we need people to weigh in on a bit more to the full committee for your review, and that will be a big thing to read. I'm just warning you. So maybe it's beach reading, I don't know, but you will have about 3 weeks to look at it. We have been given the advice that if we gave you too long, you either might really forget about it and not get to it, or you would begin to pick apart all little things that we've already picked apart and we can certainly give you good reasons for why we did what we did if you do have questions. Okay?
Is it still 1,000 pages?
I think it's fewer than that.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought it was more than that.
Well, I think what happened.
Didn't we double space everything?
I think what happened is that we found a number of things that were really process and procedure. They were not policy, so they were totally removed. And if you make anything shorter and more concise, that's good.
Great, thank you. District Agreement Subcommittee. Michelle, are you also chair?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm chair of the next 3.
All right,
So
that's easy
I
then.
would like to ask you if I could start with the Warwick transition first, because these kind of go together from a letter from Desi. And I would like to ask you if Jessica Marshall from Warwick could come up, and I'll explain a little more. So I want to give you a little background. In December 23rd, we received a letter from Desi about the withdrawal of Warwick, and they said that that could not happen until July 1st of 2023. They said this is dependent upon Warwick meeting all obligations and requirements under the current district agreement or an amendment to the agreement as per their previous correspondence to us. We have advised the Warwick Committee and the district that the only means of reopening the Warwick Elementary School would be through an agreement between the town and the district school committee. We encourage the Warwick Education Committee and the district to continue dialogue about the withdrawal, including discussions about a possible transition plan and the means of satisfying Warwick's obligations. Should the district and the member towns determine that an amendment to the current agreement is needed, please let us know as soon as possible so that necessary reviews and approvals can occur in a timely manner. With this, we felt the best thing to do was to meet in 3-hour work group sessions with the Warwick, I guess they're calling themselves the Education Committee. We heard 3 different things. And we have essentially met 2 Saturdays, 2 3-hour blocks, and then we met this Tuesday evening in a 3-hour block. And there are, there's myself, there's Karen, and Nathan from our group, Jessica, Diana Noble, who's chair of the Warwick Finance Committee, Doc Prine, a former select board member, and David Young. And we have come a long way in a very collaborative manner. And this could not have been done via Google Meets or Zooms or whatever we were doing, because we needed these large 11 by 17 sheets of paper to go over it. So in front of you, the blue paper, I would like, I don't know how many people have been able to read our progress on what we've done so far. I don't know if you want me to read it, if you want Jessica to read it. The reason I wanted Jessica at the table to let everyone know how collaboratively we are working with Warwick, because we want them to be successful with their school. And obviously, we have to watch out for, not watch out, that's not a good choice of words. We have to have the best interest of the school district. But at the forefront is always the children. And I think we have done our best efforts in that. So for 9 hours, we have met, and we anticipate at least another 3-hour meeting, maybe 2. And we worked on a timeline for getting this completed. And I'd like Jessica to maybe say a little something too.
Well, definitely in agreement with you, Michelle.
Oh, and
Right up close.
do you all know she was a former school committee member?
Yeah, so
Sorry.
some of us know really well. I was a former school committee member. I'm also Nathan's wife, so full disclosure.
That's great.
We certainly have had quite a good, productive, collaborative time. I'm in definite agreement. And I feel like both pieces of this table have come forward, and we've been really, I'd like to say, really caring about each other's interests as well as our own. It's been quite heartening. It's clear that the district wants to be working with us to do what we're doing, and I'm hoping that it's clear to the district that that the town of Warwick is really, feels really obligated to be sure that we take care of the teachers who have taught our kids and our obligations to the district as well. And it's been quite a rocky road, so I'm really pleased to be feeling like we are linked arm in arm to be walking through this process together. There's work to do still.
Yes, there's work to do. So does anyone have any questions from the blue sheet? Because we're both here to answer.
And Patricia, you've been part of these meetings as well?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If it's okay, why can't?
She's been our facilitator.
Absolutely.
And she's been our scribe. She gets us to the board all the time for a
Something-
timeline.
Sorry, something is happening with my system preferences, and it's not letting me share. I want you to know that on the district website, if you go to the school committee page, there's a drop-down, and there's now a Warwick transition page that links some of our documents. It lists people, it lists dates, and it gives a bit of an overview that might be helpful to folks who are newer and don't have a sense of what we're talking about when we say Warwick transition. I'd like to acknowledge the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, because they have been true helpful partners in this process. We had another call with them today to work out some of the payment on the loan. So I'm so happy to have been part of this process, and so sad that happy for you that Warwick will be starting its own district, and we will be cheering on from the sidelines.
Thank you. I feel like that's pretty mutual. It's been a really rocky road, and so hopefully this is leaving behind a lot of things that didn't go well, and we can, coming to agreement in this part of this, I think will help us keep our good relationships alive over time. And our kids are still connected to Pioneer,
Yep.
and will
Will
continue
be.
to be. So that's a good gift.
I have a question.
Yes.
Shocking. So, yay, special town meeting, March 28th, Warwick approved for the payment process. So I know that there's little benchmarks and little hurdles throughout the process. When is the TBD, like, when are you hoping to open the doors if everything goes smoothly?
Fall of '23.
Fall of 23. Okay.
Yeah.
So this will be a transition year, really. This will be, we'll be doing tons of work on
Right.
our end. Our kids are going to be continuing to do what they do. And some of what we have to discuss in this agreement is all of what we do with the kids' information and making sure that they are continuing to, the processes that they've been using can be carried through so that they're successful when they come back to Pioneer. There's a lot of disentanglement, and that's why we have this agreement.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you, Jessica.
Thanks, Michelle.
thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Nice seeing you,
It's
Jess.
very good to see you. Yeah.
So do you want me to go into
Yeah,
the
you
district
said you had
agreement?
the next three.
So from the letter from Desi, shall I say we were heading down one pathway on the district agreement prior to this letter of December 23rd. And when we received this, and we knew that we had to have a transition, and the district agreement had to go to Desi one more time before it went to the towns, Patricia got our subcommittee together in a 3-hour workshop group, and we have met 3 times for 9 hours. And we get stuck sometimes on some of the things, but we came up with a really great timeline. And thank you to Melissa, who is part of the subcommittee, and Alan, who's somewhere there.
And he's also tuning in from vacation.
Yes.
Acknowledge that.
And Melissa just redid our timeline for us. And is it posted on the
Patricia
website?
posted, Patricia posted it.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but we do have a timeline on the website that you can see. So the district agreement will not get to the towns before the town meeting this year. There's going to be, we wanted to get out all the questions amongst our subcommittee. Oh, I forgot about Robin Knight. Wow. Because she's not here, I didn't see her. She's also a part of our subcommittee. So we wanted to get out some of our questions. There were a lot of questions about Warwick leaving the district and whether or not, prior to us meeting, we didn't know if we had to do an amendment to the district, get to the district agreement to the towns this year, and then do an amendment, and then maybe do another amendment, so, and taking Warwick out. So we just felt we just needed to do one district agreement and explain to the towns what we had been doing and what was going on, because there are going to be a lot of questions with that. So we have a lot of work to do. I don't know. We really didn't say how many meetings. July, we said we'd meet till, I think, or June. Do you remember, Melissa?
We meet until.
Yeah, we
Meet
meet
until
till.
it's done, and we'll have
Right.
to cross paths with other making sure policy and district, like, it's all gotta sync at some point, so we work on this until.
Yes.
But we have a timeline with an end date that, that we are willing to commit to, so.
I just want to give a quick time check. It's almost 10 past 8. We have been trucking along really, really well. I just want to keep the momentum going while we honor every subject. So, because we still have our executive session.
Yep, I'm done with that.
Okay.
And then
Someone has a
the last one.
question. And then Superintendent Search Committee, the finalists have all been contacted. They're looking forward to May 3rd. They know that there will be a site visit and that on May 3rd, they should plan on coming here all day. And Nathan, you were going to be heading up the site visits, right?
If by heading up you mean I'll be doing them, yes. I would love for more school committee members to be part of that.
I
Okay.
believe Stephanie had,
Yeah, I volunteered for this.
You volunteered.
On a Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
That's my only.
yeah, and that's been tricky because I think that it's problematic to have two people just for one visit. Like if we were having two people and they could be different people as long as one was consistent for the 3 visits, but just to have 2 people on just one visit, I'm not 100% okay on that yet. So I'm approaching it, and unless other people would like to volunteer for that, but I'm going for midday meetings. I've had contact with a couple of the candidates and have arranged one, and we'll arrange the others hopefully tomorrow, and they'll be done next week.
okay,
I'm also trying to establish a rubric, so I have a standard that I can go to for each site visit.
okay.
What date do you have scheduled so far, Nathan?
Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is
Um,
27th.
Yep.
So, sorry, does this mean, so I'm running the principal search simultaneously. I have, for a long time, held May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th as possible finalist days in the principal search. I haven't been contacted to say I should be booking my day on the 3rd for some type of site visit for myself here.
No,
So,
not
no.
the site visit. The final interviews are May 3rd.
So what are the site visits?
Going to the other finalist districts.
And is there some equivalent for me?
Yes.
to that?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to go to every.
Nathan's heading that up.
Yeah,
Okay.
to
And
every.
we have a
I'm going to go
date?
to every candidate.
He said he's going to
district.
finalize it
Oh,
tomorrow.
okay, got it,
Yep.
thank you.
And I don't know if you, I sent you out an email earlier. I don't know if you got it.
No, about dates?
The site visit. Yep.
Okay, I missed that one, I apologize.
Okay.
haven't seen
I
it.
sent it to your personal email, which was on your.
Ah,
I sent. I used
barely
the
looked
information
at
that
my
was on
personal
the
email at
resumes.
this point.
Yeah, yeah.
That, no,
Yeah.
that's great, I will look at my personal
Yeah.
email, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, just
Thank you.
clarify that.
Okay,
And
so,
yes, we will, it is very important that every candidate gets the same treatment.
Yes.
so I'm looking to this committee for help for May 3rd.
We
Melissa?
have a
So-
hand. Oh,
Oh, yeah, well.
sold.
So,
Let's move on. No, I'm just kidding.
no, so real quick, I think, so my question after last school committee meeting, when we started throwing together, okay, we're gonna do site visits, and that's different than a tour district, and then we're gonna have an open session. So all of this information needs to go out yesterday, right? To everybody, to the candidates, to our local families and community members. A schedule needs to be put together. All of that needs to be done. I don't mind working on a draft of scheduling and putting together a notice that can go out, communication. I can assist potentially on that Wednesday date to go, so let me know.
Yep.
Fridays I'm out because I'm on district agreement. I've taken almost every Friday off of work for quite a while. So if Stephanie can go, I'm flexible to do that. But we definitely need to solidify a timeline and expectations and clarity for the candidates. And I'm willing to do the background work if, Michelle, you can make sure that's disseminated to everybody, because I think there really should be one, voice contacting and organizing. So I instead of everyone working in a vacuum to get this done, I don't think is going to be helpful. So, but I'm willing to do a draft and have that either a working document or whatever whatever.
Problem is, I'm not going to be here next week, so
So,
that's why I was hoping some other people were going to step forward. Joanne has offered to. She's going to help out, but she's not going to do the whole thing.
so on the search subcommittee, it was Michelle as chair, Alan was part of that, Melissa and Nathan.
Yep.
So, are you requesting assistance then from other committee
Yes.
members at this
Yes.
point? Okay.
I am.
So do we have committee members that are willing to, I know.
Yes, yes, yes. We picked the date. Yes, I will volunteer. I'll start putting some stuff
Okay.
together. Nathan?
Yeah, I mean, essentially what we need is, we need someone to give them a tour of our building. And we need someone to usher them around when we have our community forum. I'm certainly willing to be part of that. It's not ideal that I am, because I'm doing the site visits. So I'd like to not be quite involved. It just just makes my
Makes it uncomfortable for you.
a little bit, but I can separate it if need be. If no one else is going to do it, I am willing to do it. But it would be better if we got more.
So Stephanie has her hand raised, and Raina, and Alan.
I'm probably gonna have to take that Tuesday off anyways, so I'm at your service if you need ushering and moving and
Okay.
whatever
Great.
else.
Great.
Yeah.
Raina,
So I just wanted to review what time we would be, what time
That's
things
part
would
of
be
the-
happening.
That's
the
part of
planning. I think that, so at the meeting, we had discussed that the three candidates would have individual times in the Kiva in order to do meet and greets with the general public, staff, teachers, anyone that wants to meet the candidates. As one of the candidates is in the Kiva having that process, the other two would be getting a tour, and we would just filter them through the Kiva. That's what my understanding was. Then the interviews would begin at 5 p.m. So one interview at 5, one interview at 6, one interview at 7. The public would have the opportunity to do citizens' comments at 8 p.m. And then the school committee would deliberate.
Julie?
Yes. Oh, sorry, Alan. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, here, let me try to figure out how to put my hand down here. So just to try to bring a little clarity, first of all, I don't mind being the, if you need an MC or something to bring in the candidate, introduce and so forth, during those time slots of 5, 6, and 7, I'd be willing to do that. Nathan, you can decide, if you need help on that. The other thing is, the candidates, when they go into a district, usually they come in during the day. So Joanne would be a perfect person to bring them around to the schools for a little bit, and then they're gone. I mean, they go out to eat, they go visit the district, they do whatever, and then they come back when it's their time to have their public sort of town meeting to introduce themselves, answer questions, and so forth. So I just wanted to clarify that I don't think the intent was to have them walking around the district at, 5, 6, and 7, waiting their turn. So that was not the way I envisioned it. So I just,
Okay. I appreciate that clarification. I have not been through this process before. I missed that at our last meeting. I want to be also cognizant of what we are putting on Joanne. I don't know what the appropriate kind of, if that is typical, because that,
So, yeah, so Julie, so what usually, well, again, an administrator in a school would be, like Joanne would bring them to the school, introduce them to whomever is going to bring them around the school. It could be the principal or someone, and they do the tour around the school. Joanne sort of waits in the office or something until, they're done, and then brings them to the next school. So generally, that's how that's done.
Okay,
And
so,
Joanne
but that will
is
need
on
to be coordinated with Joanne.
But
Yes.
Joanne couldn't do it herself.
No.
She couldn't be bringing one teacher to one person to Northfield and another one to Bernardston. You would need two people to do that.
And
Three-
there's a
there's three
Pioneer
candidates.
tour,
Right. But,
and 3 candidates, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Correct.
Melissa?
Okay. So what was discussed at the last school committee meeting? And I'll just, for those, if you had difficulty hearing Alan, so the tour of the district typically happens during the day. So the candidates can see the operation of the school. It's a quick walkthrough, it's a quick meet and greet, it's a quick in and out. We had talked about this with Joanne. Joanne has done this in previous positions. And so it depends on a few different things. One, on the candidate's availability during May 3rd. Again, if we had put this stuff out yesterday.
No, I've talked to them, they're all available.
So they're all good, right?
Well, yeah.
Well, I want to confirm,
Yeah.
right? So there's a couple different ways of doing it. One, where Joanne runs 3 individual tours. So she takes one person around, and then there's kind of some free time. Then she takes the second person around, and then the third.
So when you say Joanne takes people around,
Yes. So literally, she has in the past, she did not commit to this. She provided us examples when she had run or been part of a different superintendent search committee for a different district, that she drove the candidate around to each of the schools to give them tours. Because
so Alan just said the administrator at the site would take over, that Joanne would introduce them.
Sometimes that happens, but we can't put, we're running into putting a lot on an administrator who's trying to run a building at that time during the school day to do that, right? And so these are the things that need to be flushed out if we want to provide a facilities tour to our candidates, okay? The other option is that there's 3 volunteers, and each volunteer goes with the candidate and takes them through each of the buildings. Again, this would have to be, you'd have to find the volunteers to do this. You would have to coordinate that. But that would happen during the school day. And then in the afternoon, during the Kiva and the public comments, questions, that needs to be clarified on what we're expecting the candidates to do. This is, we don't need to redesign the wheel. All of this information is out there and clarified, but we as a committee have not taken time to talk about any of this.
So that's what we're doing now.
Right.
So we need to get it ironed out.
So one of the things that we did talk about was a facilitator during having someone kind of running the meeting or the meet and greet when the candidate comes. Last meeting, we spoke about having the candidate introduce themselves, give whoever's in the audience up to 5 minutes, a little background, see if people have questions, informally have that last. I forget the time. I'd have to look back at the video. Have 45 minutes, something along those lines. And so we would need a facilitator. So whether that would be something Stephanie would be interested in, as she said, she'd be that day, Tuesday, or Alan. Those are 2 people who've spoken up that could, I believe, facilitate possibly that. And then the only other thing I think we would need to clarify is if we're having citizens' comments at 8:00, are we deliberating until?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you having a hard
decided
stop
last
at 9?
time.
Okay, great.
That was we said
Yeah.
that we, yep,
Deliberate until. Okay.
yep.
So At the meeting last week, 3 o'clock was mentioned. Is that the time to begin things in the Kiva?
That was what was,
Should be.
All right,
Yes.
and then, so that only gives you 2 hours before the individual interviews.
Right.
Just as an FYI.
Correct.
I'm just looking at the time
yep,
frame.
yep.
So I have a question. I raised last week that I was going to be away and that I could still participate in the interview process. I'm happy that I can do that. Will there be a way for me to view the community forums in the Kiva?
I have no
Will
idea.
that be taped or broadcast? I don't know.
It should be for any stakeholders who can't make it. That would be a.
Looking over at Tyler.
I know.
I don't know what we. It is May 3rd,
3 p.m. on.
but 3 meetings in the Kiva and then interviews in here.
Meetings in the,
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
so
I'll do my best without knowing what happened there.
I know we said the Kiva would be a great place for doing the 45, roughly 45 minutes per candidate at 3 o'clock. Would it be better to do it in the library or?
No, you should
Yeah,
go
the
ahead.
Kiva is like a, I've been in the
Yeah,
Kiva many
Yeah,
times.
yeah. Don't do it for me.
I'm not sure that we settled on 45 minutes or an hour for each of the candidates in the Kiva.
But you only
Can't be an
have
hour.
2 hours.
Right.
I know, so that's what I'm saying. So, would perhaps 30 minutes be appropriate per candidate for a meet and greet? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that would give us, enough time, in order to have 3 candidates have their meet and greets, if we were worried about that. Alan?
Yeah, I was listening when Jeannie made her comment, about the 2 hours and 45 minutes. I don't think personally 30 minutes is enough. I think 45 is, but you'd have to
We don't have.
back that up to 2:30 because they're going to be interviewing with a committee at 4, 5, and 6.
No.
I mean,
No, 5, 6, and 7.
6 and 7.
Yeah, 5, 6, and 7. So if they start at 5, so I don't know. I think that's really pushing it. Think about it. If we want the audience to be engaged and ask questions and so forth, I don't know. I think you ought to be giving a little bit more time. But whatever you decide, I agree with.
Nathan?
More time is ideal, but we're looking at the schedule that we have.
Yeah.
A half hour's tight, but there will be opportunities for citizen comments. So it's not just that time. I mean, we could stretch it to 40 minutes, but that's hardly any time in between.
So
Yeah. I agree that I think 30 minutes is plenty of time. If the candidate gives 5-minute intro, that still leaves 25 minutes for questions and discussions. And if the citizens are going to attend all 3, they will be spending a great deal
Yeah.
of time
Yeah, that's a good
here as well.
Yeah, and they'll be sitting through the interviews
Yeah.
and waiting to give comments. So
Right.
yeah, that's committing an entire day essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we just need to limit the citizens' comments. I mean, we need to
Yep.
determine, is it 2 minutes, is it 3 minutes, or whatever it is, to make it efficient.
I know that this isn't going to be popular, but I almost feel like we need another meeting prior to May 3rd. Unless we want to, it's now 8:30, we still have executive session.
Well, I'm just looking at schedule for negotiations and principal search takes up next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. We have negotiations on the 28th.
Yep.
And then we have principal stuff on the 26th and the 27th.
What time?
4 to 8, 4 to 8, 4
But
to
it's,
6.
no, they're not 4 to 8.
Oh.
That, we blocked that off. But
But we still have a 4 to 6 on Thursday.
Were you going to say? Yep.
Would the committee be interested if those of us that could reconvene next week as the superintendent search subcommittee, if we got together, those of us that could, and put the schedule together, get it ready to go, and have it sent out? Because I think what's happening is we're floundering because there's no one taking the head, right, to do this. So Michelle is not available. I've offered to put some things together, right? So
Well, I'm available by phone. I
by
can
phone,
talk.
right? So we can
Yeah.
do this by Google Meet,
Yeah.
right? So if we posted a superintendent search committee, it would be a public Google subcommittee.
Yep.
Subcommittee of the school committee members. It would be online.
Yeah.
We could get together and we can hash this out. And after we have executive session, maybe we can put together a date and time so we can have Joanne post it immediately.
Okay.
If the committee supports that.
I have a question, does the 3 o'clock meeting on Tuesday, May 3rd, need to be posted?
Yes.
All right, so that can't wait till Friday, well,
You've got
I'm
all
a week
next
ahead.
week.
No,
Yeah.
the May 3rd at 3 o'clock
yes, that's the public forum in the Kiva.
Right.
is the public forum.
Yeah.
In the Kiva.
Right. And
And
so,
my question
that
is,
will be
does
done.
that have to be posted?
Yes.
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 If it has to be posted, then it has to be posted on Friday.
This schedule needed to be done
Yeah, that would
yesterday.
No, but
So
I'm just saying, looking forward,
Right.
Yes.
is
don't-
that
Why we-
for a meeting, for the meeting on the 3rd, it needs to be
Yes.
posted by the 29th.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, our interviews would have to be the same day. The whole day
Yeah.
would be posted.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. It will be done in time. Thank you.
yeah.
Are the interviews a public meeting?
Yes.
Or is that just with the
Yes.
school committee interviewing?
Yeah, it
No,
still has to be
it's a public
posted.
meeting.
Public meeting, yeah.
All right.
And there will also be citizens' comments. Yep.
Right.
At 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then we deliberate.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so,
Are we going to publicly announce our candidates?
No. We didn't.
Every other district
Yeah, we could. We wanted to.
has publicly named their candidates in a search committee. And
you need the permission of the candidates first. So, Michelle, have you spoken with
Yes,
all three
I
of
did,
them?
But
And
we
you,
haven't had a meeting until
Right.
today, so.
so you're welcome to do so, as long as you have the permission of the
Yeah,
candidates.
I do.
Okay. Okay. So
Do you want me to do that?
I would
Okay.
think so. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
The finalists are Patricia Kinsella, Patricia Gardner, and Cynthia Kennedy.
Can I ask what districts the others are from?
Oh, you would have to.
Palmer,
Palmer,
Is which one?
Patricia Gardner.
Patricia Gardner. Yep.
Thank you. And what about Cynthia Kennedy?
Athol Rose,
Athol.
Royalston.
Raina?
So I just wanted to say, I would really appreciate the subcommittee putting together a schedule, and I trust you, that group, to sort of set that and coordinate, lay it out in a coordinated manner. And I would be willing to take a look at that, and if I can volunteer for either a tour or, helping out in the Kiva. I would invite my fellow committee members to volunteer if they can for at least one of the slots, if we can, so.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rena. Okay,
All right.
so,
So
yep, Nathan?
real quick before we move on, we've got 2 volunteers for 2 of the site visits. Need one more. So again, I appreciate the volunteering, but I don't think we should just do 2 of them with
No, we
2
can't.
people. So I'm just going to put that out there. Hopefully I hear from other committee members tonight or tomorrow. I am scheduling these for next week. So it's a great opportunity to look at these candidates. I would appreciate other members helping out, and I appreciate the ones that have. Thank you.
Nathan, I may be able to do the 27th, I just have to.
What
it
day
would
week of
depend-
that is that?
That's the
That's the
Wednesday?
Wednesday you mentioned.
Okay,
So between Rain and I, we'll figure it out.
okay.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, thank you. Okay, I'm just looking at the agenda. Next, we have our executive session, but in order to just go into executive session and not return to open session and still have items, I do see under other business.
Yep, there are some, let me think about this. We had the go-ahead from our.
I need to be a
oh,
little
sorry.
closer.
We had the go-ahead from our attorney to bring 2 small MOAs with the PVREA straight to the full committee. And I am thinking that these 2 addenda could go straight to the committee also. If you wanted to do these now, we could, or you could wait until after executive session.
Question. Will I be allowed to attend this executive session?
No, I thought, so what was the advice you were given?
That I should not be involved in questions regarding the teacher's contract.
Right, so this is about the teacher's contract.
Okay, so then my preference would be to do it now. I could leave.
Okay. Okay. Alan?
Yeah, just clarification, Rita, on what we're now doing. So this MOA that the superintendent's putting on the table has been agreed upon by the parties. There's nothing in there that we would be doing an executive session, is that correct? So that these are good to go, everyone
Yeah.
felt comfortable,
Yeah.
and we could take that vote. Is that correct?
That's okay. That's okay.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, so, did someone else raise their?
Alan?
No, sorry, just
Oh,
trying to put it
okay.
down.
I
Thanks.
didn't think that would be.
Okay, and we didn't share these in advance because they were going into executive session. The first 2 are very small MOUs between the district and the PVREA. We have a special education teacher in this building who resigned mid-year, and that leaves us in the potentially precarious position of we need to ensure that all of the services to students that are required are being provided, and in addition, we need to make sure that things like evaluations and plans are being written. So these first 2 MOUs are for 2 of our teachers to use some of their own time at the contractual rate of $35 an hour to fill in for some of these special education services. I didn't put the total on this. The total is something like, for both combined, is something like $1,510 or $1,540. It's not a lot of money. That is those 2, and it's just for the remainder of the year. The other is an addendum to the hiring letter for Marin Law, our early childhood coordinator. As you know, our curriculum coordinator, grants manager, is on a partial leave for the remainder of the year, and I need someone who could pick up some of Ariel's work. So Marin Law has graciously agreed to step in and provide us with 1 day extra per week. This is retroactive. This is also well, she's not a member of the PVREA. I used the $35 an hour figure, and it comes out to $5,600 for her to provide, how many days was it? 20 days of work for the winter and spring. And you can see there the list we worked with Ariel to have her identify discrete tasks that Maren could take over. The last one is also looking backwards. This is for Kathy Hawkins Harrison, who capably stepped in while the principal of this building was out on a short-term leave. And this is for Kathy to receive the amount of $100 a day, stepping in to lead the building. So that's $1,300. We have the money in rural aid for these.
I make a motion to approve all 4 of the MOAs that have just been presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right.
Or
well-
MOUs, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Melissa?
Melissa Gary, yes.
Stephanie Winslow, yes.
Nathan Swartz, yes.
Jeannie Milton, yes.
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Michelle Jeruso, yes.
Raina?
Raina Dastu, yes.
Alan Zinovic, yes.
David Young, yes.
And Julie Burke, yes. Great, so that's
Thank you.
unanimous. Yes, thank you. Yep. All right, excuse me. Okay, I believe that we would need to vote to enter into executive session with the caveat that we would not be returning back to open session to adjourn. So we would adjourn from executive session. Is there a motion for that?
I make a motion to adjourn into executive session for the purpose to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel and discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the PVREA and the PVASP, and not to return to open session.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, Melissa?
Melissa Gary, yes.
Stephanie Winslow, yes.
Nathan Swartz, yes.
Jeannie Milton, yes.
Karen O'Neill, abstain.
Michelle Jeruso, yes.
Raina?
Raina Dastu, Northfield, yes.
Alan
Al-
Zinovic, yes.
Great. Julie Burke, Northfield, yes. All right, thank you, everyone.